Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be planting some new crops here in our raised beds, and we're going to be potting up 4 blackberry plants that I just picked up at the garden center. They're dwarf size, so they don't get huge. They're thornless and they're already loaded with fruit. The kids are going to love it. The irrigation system just turned on in this area, which is great. We can see if the new drip I just put in is working real well or not. So this space right here is in the shade until just before 8 o'clock in the morning. So this past weekend I got out early to do some clean out while it was still nice and cool and shaded in this space, and I did replace drip in most of the beds except for three of the L-shaped beds. They're so full of stuff that it's going to be hard to snake new drip in there. I'm going to do it over the next day or two because the watering is just so spotty. If we do not replace we use the 1/4-inch brown drip tubing in here, if we don't replace it at the beginning of the season, even if it appears to be working at the beginning, it will plug up with hard water, and sometime in the middle of the season we'll have to do it anyway. So I need to just learn. You would think that I would know that by now, and I do know that. It's just that when I see it working in the beginning, I don't really want to waste it, but it is kind of a pain when you're having to deal with those things later on in the season. Because, like, check this out. This one's on. You can see it's dripping there. There's nothing coming out here. So I don't know how this is a hot and heavy, and it's loaded too. I don't know how it's surviving. So we're at that weird time of year, right at the beginning of July, when it's a little bit too early to start our fall crops, which is basically a repeat of what we plant in the spring. So a lot of greens and carrots, onions. We still haven't harvested our onions that we planted this spring. They're not ready to be harvested yet, but we do have enough time to plant some warm season crops, which is what I'm going to do today. And you can figure out, based on your average first frost date, what your growing window is, which ours at this point, I think I've got 95 or 96 days until our average first frost date, and you can grow a lot of stuff in that kind of a window. You can figure out your growing window just by Googling average first frost date and your zip code, and it should give you what yours is. I think ours is October 4th or 5th, and then that means it could happen a little bit earlier or a little bit later, and you do need to consider as you're approaching that, as we approach fall, the days will get shorter, the nights will get cooler, so things may take a little bit longer to mature. So if you've got a 62-day bean, let's say, it might take a little bit longer than 62 days to get there. But typically when we're starting things this time, it's so hot that things get up and grow really, really quickly. So this is what we're working with today. I've got a couple of different types of cosmos that stay a little bit shorter, like on the 24-inch side of things. We've got a Suyao long cucumber, which is a 60-day. We've got a Montreal melon, which is a green honeydew. Big Smile dwarf sunflowers. I'm trying to stick with flowers that don't get enormously tall. We've got bachelor's buttons. There's lacy pink didiscus and some 4 o'clocks. So we're going to be planting every open space in the garden today, which means that the only space I will have for actual fall crops will be our 2 3x6 beds that are currently full of onions. They will be harvested here, I'm guessing in the next couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks-ish. And that will be the perfect amount of space, I think, for the fall crops I want to grow. And then the only other crop we will plant in this space this season is garlic, which, this stuff will be done. We'll be clearing out beds and we'll be planting garlic sometime in October. And then these are the blackberries right here. Look at this. Oh my goodness, the kids are going to flip. They haven't seen these yet. I snuck them in. Super huge berries. They're already, all of them are all loaded up with fruit. And there's a look at the tag. Thornless dwarf blackberry, zone 4 through 9, and they grow about 3 to 4 feet, I'm guessing, if they're in the ground. Ooh, this berry feels soft and ready. So what I'm thinking, we have this galvanized tub, which I'm gonna move out of here. I thought about just bringing in some containers that are a little bit different shape and potting them and putting them like in the corners, or, just kind of dot them around in this space. We had raspberry berries in here, which are totally not worth planting. It's a cross between a raspberry and a strawberry. I was so excited when I very first saw it, but they produce hardly anything. We've had them in there for a couple seasons now. Like maybe 3 tiny little button-sized fruit, and they weren't like amazingly flavored. I mean, they were good sweet berries, but totally not worth it. And they just take over all the land. They send those runners out everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to be amending the beds with the biotone here. I've got some other, this has got soil acidifier and like Plantone, I think, in there, and Garden Tone. I don't know, it's a mixture. I'm going to use that up as well. And we will be planting up this 3x4, this 3x6, which I just harvested the garlic out of here. We'll be planting both ends of this, which are about 3x3. I'm going to harvest this giant cabbage. Look at that, it's massive. This 3x3 space, and then these 2 3x4s as well. And then as far as the drip system goes, what I'm doing is I'm replacing all of the pieces here. This is just a 3/4 inch, it's a Rainbird, I think, brand, 3/4 inch hose thread to 1/2 inch black poly adapter. And then I'm just clamping a 1/2 inch black poly. I make a header line right here, and then I come off of it. What's Cheddar doing? Cheddar just ran through here. I come off of it with the 1/4 inch brown drip tubing, and the longest run we have, this is 11 emitters. So each one of these longer runs is 11 emitters, and the shorter runs are 5 emitters. That's why Cheddar came running through. There's Douglas. We've found over the years that with that 1/4 inch brown drip tubing, you just cannot, you can use it, but you cannot go very far. And I would try to do these whole L-shaped beds with one long run and just kind of curve it around. And then by the end of the run, we weren't seeing very much water come out, and the coverage just wasn't great. So shorter runs work really, really well. Okay, so I'm gonna go find some more plant tags since we're planting so many different things, and then we'll amend the soil, get the seeds in the ground, and then we'll go find some pots. I was gonna maybe try to find 4 matching pots, but I don't know if that really is that necessary to have a match. So here we go.
The big one. The big one.
A big one.
Big one.
Should we wash it off?
Yes.
Okay.
Mmm.
Yum, yum, yum.
Mmm.
All right, guys, all the seeds are in. I'll walk you through and show you where everything ended up. The only seed I didn't end up planting that I just showed you were the 4 o'clocks. And those get like upwards of 4 feet tall anyway, so they'd be a little bit on the tall side. What are you doing? Are you gonna dance? You doing some dancing in your jammies? How's your carrot?
Good.
Good. Okay, so Samantha helped me out with my plant tags right here. They're looking excellent. But on this side and on this side, I did the Big Smile sunflowers, and you can see that I had to just pushed the drip aside. I just need to replace that drip today. And I indicated with a rock where each one of the rows ended up so that I can get the drip line in the right spot. On this side, I did the Blue Boy Bachelor's buttons. And in this one, I did 2 of the Suyao Longs. So I planted some seed on this side and some seed on that side, so the vines can kind of cruise that way and cruise this way. I did the Lacy Pink Discus right here. And then on this side, I did the Cosmos in this bed and the melon, and I did 2 areas of the melon as well. So a little bit right here and a little bit on the other side. And then I think I'm just gonna put the blackberries right in there. I mean, I'm gonna go grab containers for them, of course, but I think that looks really pretty. Looks fun to see them all spread out. Samantha and I did just test some out.
Yes.
So tasty. Oh, yeah, it's tart. Bleh. And they're not quite ripe enough yet. They're still a little bit on the tart side. So we'll wait until they're really squishy. But boy, they are just gorgeous. And all the blackberries that I have planted out in the south garden, those are all thornless varieties as well, but they are like the semi-trailing. They get huge. So they need a trellising system and all of that. So I'm hopeful that these will just be fun, smaller, daintier plants up here that will fit in nicely. Oh, and I'm just seeing all of these gorgeous tomatoes in here. And you guys, I'm not trimming any of my tomatoes, only if they just get kind of wild and in the way. I'm just letting them do their thing. It's way easier, less stress. And I swear for me, they produce better if I just leave them alone. And I harvested this massive cabbage, which is so beautiful. Look at that. Just gorgeous. Like a tiny little bit of caterpillar damage, a lot of caterpillar damage on the leaves. We only sprayed with BT, I think maybe twice on these. And you know, unless it's really affecting the produce, I just let them eat it until it looks too bad, and then we'll take after it with something like BT. But we really had to do minimal to keep the produce nice. So now we need to grab pots for the blackberries. I think I'm gonna ask Aaron for his help with that because I'm gonna end up putting concrete in here, I bet. All right, guys, I got it all done, and I did trim up the rows on the far end. I trimmed this one up the other day when I was out here cleaning out the raised beds. That one I just forgot to do, so I got that one all shorn up so you can actually go underneath the arbors without getting snagged by rose canes. Quite nice. Same over there. And there's the first blackberry. I just put one in this corner because I've got a menagerie of these kind of cloche things, which I never use hardly. I just like the way they look, just sitting here stacked up. They kind of have a, I don't know, like a Beatrix Potter vibe to me. So one here, and then I did a grouping of 3 over there that we'll go check out in a second. But I put this one away from the others because the pot is a little different. This is actually plastic. It looks pretty dang good for being plastic. There's Douglas. This one is from Crescent Garden. We've had it for quite a long time. In fact, the big terracotta looking pot by our chicken coop that I planted up this spring is the same one, but just larger. This one has a 17-inch diameter, so I went up from like a 2-gallon container up to a 17-inch, so they'll have plenty of room for root growth. Like, they should be able to winter over in these, which was kind of the goal. And here's the trio in real terracotta pots. I only had 3 pots this size available, and I kind of wanted them to match and not look like kind of a mishmash of containers, but I think it looks so pretty. Look at that. Just kind of fills in that corner nicely. Like, we rarely use these corners to walk in, and there's plenty of room to walk around here. We typically use like the main pathway, and then we kind of access the beds from the middle rather than coming down the front. I'm not sure why, but you can see the drip tube right here. So the black 1/4-inch poly with no emitter holes comes up through the bottom of the drain hole of the pot, then a 1/4-inch coupler into the brown drip tubing that has the emitter holes every 6 inches. Now, I did put 8 emitters in these pots, which is a lot, but these pots, or this zone rather, only runs every other day. It doesn't run every day. So I wanted to kind of really soak them every other day and see if that works instead of having to come out here and supplement water in between. We got a wild emitter going on over here. But these pots are a 16-inch diameter, so it's just slightly smaller than the other one. They look so beautiful though. And just imagine too, I mean, these come up in the spring fairly early. They start to leaf out, and then they get the big white blooms on them. So we'll get to enjoy some spring interest out of them. And then they're a midsummer bearing blackberry. So, you know, from now through hopefully a little while, you know, you can see some new ones starting to form. Now, they may act a little different next year too, because they will be breaking dormancy on our cycle rather than where they came from, which I think these came from the Monrovia lode that came from Southern California, I think. So they are a little bit ahead of the game. But that's it for today. Every bed is full of stuff, whether it be seeds or plants that are still growing. I still need to do drip in this bed, and this bed, which will be a great project for either late this evening or early tomorrow morning. But things are looking really nice. I'm loving the container. This is the Super Bina Sparkling Amethyst, looking just so gorgeous. And these containers up here have been so fun. That's the Carolee Petite Pink Gara as a centerpiece, which is kind of a centerpiece. It is, like it's fighting through that Vista Supertunia, the jazzberry there. I mean, enough to where you can see it. And then we've got the Super Bina again, and then another Supertunia called Raspberry Rush. And things are just looking so healthy. I mean, even with the water issues, like the arbs are looking better than they did last year. Do you guys remember? I mean, maybe we can find a flashback, but they looked so super duper rough. We gave them one extra drip line just for the ones behind the vegetable garden. Just those, not the ones that go beyond, that get the overspray from the grass sprinklers or, you know, any extra water from the drip in the flower beds. And they have recovered so much. I'm so thankful. And before we know it, you guys, we're gonna be back out here harvesting onions, planting fall crops. Things just happen so fast, but I really feel like the spring weather that we had, I mean, it's evident in the health of the crops, the health of our plants overall. I haven't seen spider mite damage start to occur like I usually do by this time of year, or just overall like heat stress, burn on leaves and wilting, extra wilting and things like that. We're getting on top of watering issues more than normal. Every year we kind of hone that process just a little bit, minus me not replacing the drip like I should have in here in all the beds this spring. But you know, even the beds that I did replace drip in, let me tell you, these fittings, like this one's okay right now, but I really dislike this type of drip fitting. I don't like the ones you have to push the drip into at all. I like ones that the drip can slip over. I have a better example in the Gator. So one I had to replace right here, I just don't like these at all. Versus these. These are so much easier to use. So much, and we don't get the leaking like we do. So even in the beds that I had replaced drip in earlier this spring, most of them had this type of fitting because that's what we had on hand. And so now I'm having to replace these mid-season because they just start to leak. They're just junk. I don't like them. Anyway, that's it, you guys, for today. So happy to have this space buttoned up and those blackberries going for it. I just love stuff like that tucked in, especially if you can get on drip and you can kind of hands off it a little bit so that it looks sweet and charming, but it's not causing extra work. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.